Yo, what's good? It's your boy Derek Brent here, Strike7Sports.com. This is another episode of Strike 7 Sports Podcast. I'm joined by my co-hosts, Brian Botta, Lee Edwards, and Seabury. This is another episode of Strike 7 Sports Podcast. So we're just gonna go right into it. And our first topic of the night is something that I want to revisit because we talked about this in the summer about Tom Brady and his eventual fall off the cliff. And I got some numbers to like support this argument. And I know the media, the mainstream media, is gonna give him every benefit of the doubt, but I'm gonna just bring this up to y'all and just y'all be the judge as we revisit this topic. So week one against Dallas, they won, but he was 18 to 27, 212 yards, one TD, one interception. Against the Saints, 18 to 34, 190 yards, one touchdown, and yeah, just one touchdown pass. Against Green Bay, 31 to 42, 271, one touchdown, three sacks. So in each of these games, Brady has struggled a bit. The Bucks haven't even put up 30 points yet, or even touched 25 points yet, if I'm not mistaken. So with everything I just said, do you think Brady's the cause of Brady's slow start is because of the lack of weapons that he has right now, or old age?
I'll take this one first, and I'll make it short and sweet. I think it's just a little bit of both. I believe this is his last year in the NFL. I'll be stunned if he comes back. And Mike Evans, at least for the Green Bay game, wasn't there. His lack of weapons kind of there, and I just put in a. It was a few days ago, but it was kind of when I was seeing where the Titans were. They were a bad offense, bad defense. When I looked at the Buck, oh no, it was a graph, and I saw the Bucks. They were a good, or actually, I think maybe a great D and a bad offense. So maybe it's just their entire offense just isn't clicking. It's not just Brady. So as long as they're 2-1, it's not a big deal. If they were losing more games, that would be a big deal. But let's judge this after maybe the first halfway through the season. Then we can say I have a more definitive answer.
Um, I would say it's really a combination of both, like like Brian said. But I really think it's yeah, I would lean more towards the options or the weapons around him. The 22nd in points this season so far, but number one, the defense was ranked number one in the points against. So it's obviously more on the offense. Suspensions, injuries have really plagued this team. From Mike Evans, obviously, Gio Bonnie Bernards, they obviously know Chris Godwin, and they've been really making them do what they have. And while they have talented players, when you a team only can overcome so much. And I think that in that Green Bay game, Green Bay just made a few more plays. Um, they really got off to a sluggish start, offensively in the Dallas and the Saints games, but they were just really hand wrap, their defense showed up and just really hand gifted them those other two games. But in Green Bay was just more disciplined last game. So I would just really say, let's see this team at full strength. Let's see this team get Chris Godwin back. Let's see them get Mike Evans back this upcoming week against the Chiefs, and then let's assist, and give an evaluation after this.
Uh, that's true. I could respect that, but I mean, yeah, Mike Evans against the Cowboys. You had him against the Saints for I would say a vast majority of that game, and they've kept them in check. And I would say something else important to it as well. I noticed that they've played some really good defenses, man. Dallas, I think a lot of people need to start giving Dallas a lot of credit for the defense that they have right now. People wasn't expecting that, including me, but they've done a great job. Green Bay is a really good defense. The Saints is a really good defense, but when you don't have those pieces like that, It can make a aging QB look really old. Anything else on that?
Uh, I really think that like you said, uh, yeah, they play some really good defenses. Um, but you really three really good defenses like that. You said the Cowboys defense is number one in the league in sacks, so just keep that in mind. So they played against a ferocious pass rush, but I just feel that maybe with Brady's age now, you're just not gonna put it on his shoulders to win games no more. You got this, you got solid weapons at full speed, so it's just like Leonard Fournette can carry the load more. They have the depth. They don't need to put it on Brady's shoulders, and I just feel like just because people, just because Brady not put them numbers that he can, don't let's not forget who he is. His name holds a lot of weight. He might not be, throwing it for 400 yards anymore, and producing these high quality, numbers that we're accustomed to seeing. But let's not forget who this man is.
Yeah, well, point. Go ahead. Go ahead.
This is kind of, I don't know if this now necessarily relates, but I just thought of it. Do you think the stuff happening off the field is having any impact? I didn't think so, and I thought you guys would feel the same. It's just something that I
They
thought.
I don't know, man. He don't look the upbeat Brady to me, man. Impressive. Go ahead.
I wasn't saying it, but yeah, I mean, I feel that everybody deals with a lot of these NFL players are dealing with things off the field, and I think that's channeled within. I know, and Brady's done a good job of separating personal from on the field, and obviously, with the murmurs that they would live, he and his wife would live in separate, houses and stuff like that, in their situation. I I doubt that he would let that affect his forms on the field because he's always been had a working like attitude and mentality of you know maintaining a separation of private from private life from professional life, and so I don't think that's going to change now at the age of 45. So I just think that teams there's a formula to play the Bucks. You just keep keep the explosive plays contained, and put up enough points that you can try to win a game against. I mean, teams aren't finna outscore. You're not gonna do too much against that Bucks defense, so they're always gonna be in every game, even if the offense like that Saints game. That Bucks defense did a phenomenal job of keeping them in that game, and the Cowboys game, and you can say the Packers game. It's just the offense didn't execute late. So if the formula for the Buccaneers this year, defense keep a team to if they keep a team under 20 points, they're probably going to win the game. I mean, obviously Packers they didn't win last this week, but that's not going to be the norm.
Right. I agree. Go ahead. You got anything you want to add,
Yeah,
Brian?
I was gonna say I don't necessarily agree with that. That I don't think their offense will be this bad the entire year. Another thing that we could also say that could uh, be a point that some people don't talk about a lot is early in the year, defenses have an advantage over offenses. And so as the year goes, the offenses get more rhythm and they become better. But early in the year, defenses have an advantage over the offenses. So I think I would disagree that they had the defense. Their defense is great. And ultimately, I believe that's what ultimately helped them win a Super Bowl. But I don't think their defense I don't think that's even fair to ask their defense to hold people under. Or I know it was just maybe a suggestion if they hold them under 20 points every game or a lot of their games, then they're probably going to win because I don't think the offense will be that bad for the entire year.
You
Uh,
don't know that though.
we'll see, but I don't know. Do we think it's going to be that bad? You
I
think?
Oh,
never
line's not good.
I never mentioned the offense being bad for us. I just said the defense is going
Yeah,
to keep them in games, like regardless of whether the offense is playing well
that's
or
fair.
not. I never mentioned anything about them having the subpar. I even mentioned earlier that they don't even have the full parts of the machine yet. So it's not, I can't assist this team until I see Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, the whole, the guys that are going to be core to them, making a run to get back to the Super Bowl. But I just feel like even if they're going to win, I could see this team winning 17, 13 games. I could see this team winning 13, 10 games. So because of that defense, man, I don't think that many teams are gonna put up 20 points on them. I don't, cause and trust me, I don't. From what I've seen, it's just and they haven't played some solid offenses. You know, they played Dallas without that. I mean, for a bit of that. You know, Saints have a good offense when James is right, and obviously we know what Aaron Rodgers can do. So if that's the blueprint of them winning games, they have a good chance of making it far this year.
I dig that. Respectable. But I don't know, man. I'm kind of like, yo, man. He doesn't look as crisp as in the past, man. The way in his past, some of his passes, man. Just I don't know, but we'll see though, man. All right, moving right along, man. We're gonna talk about another team in the NFC, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. They are 3-0 right now on the. I think the only undefeated. Well, the Miami Dolphins is undefeated as well, but then along with the Miami Dolphins, they're the only undefeated teams in the NFL right now, and they had a big test this past week against the weekend against the Buffalo Bills, a Super Bowl contender in a lot of people's eyes. They won that game. They came from behind to beat the damn. Hold on, I'm tripping. My bad. I meant to say the Philadelphia Eagles, man. They undefeated. They have beat the Minnesota Vikings the previous week. They took down the Washington Commanders this week. And for week one, I think they beat the Detroit Lions. And Jalen Hurts has had multiple games where he's thrown two or more touchdown passes, put some big numbers. And so far, they're looking like the best team in the NFC right now. So, what do y'all think?
Um, I agree with you. I do think that the Eagles, as of this moment, look like a really good team. Uh, what's impressive about the Eagles is their completeness. This team offensively is very efficient. Obviously, you have Jalen Hurts, who I would say has shocked a lot of people with his growth. A lot of people, have had their naysayers about would he be that guy. They've given him every reason to succeed. There's no reason to fail. You can make that argument, but also you can say he's also brought the best out of this team from a his dynamic running skills and obviously his live arm too. And so I think he's done everything that you could ask for. Obviously, we'll get into that. And MVP, people are having those early, predictions and all that. So I honestly think the Eagles, from a defensive standpoint, probably one of the defenses in the NFL. You obviously can make that argument. They're shut down pretty much every team they've played, and it's not even really been close. But what's my only fault is with them in the run game, like Miles Sanders. Like my question with him is, can he be a consistent start? Can he be a starting running back on a team that goes deep in the playoff? And I know Miles Sanders is good and he has his moments, but it's the lack of consistency. And when teams are shutting down Jalen from running, can Miles Sanders be that guy? And that opposing defenses respect. I mean, obviously he's a solid running back, but I just that's my their running game outside of Jalen Hurts is my question that I have about them. But yeah, the Eagles look like that team, but another team that I like is the Los Angeles Rams. I know after that loss to Buffalo, a lot of people like they kind of jumped off that bandwagon. That was kind of still coasting from the Super Bowl, but that team's still really good, and that's still my team, my pick to come out the NFC. But wouldn't be surprised at all if I saw the Philadelphia Eagles gasp in the Super Bowl. Well, going far in the playoffs.
What do you think, Brian?
But he kind of confusing because at first I thought you mentioned the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, I messed it up,
Yeah,
man. I went to
so
the
I was
Eagles.
like, when you started talking Eagles, I was like, so do you want me to continue with the Eagles or Dolphins?
Eagles.
All right,
Yeah, that's
okay. Yeah, yeah. I agree with most of what he said. The Eagles are a legit team. Jalen Hurts is playing at the MVP level. Uh, Still want to see them when they get because like they're playing some okay teams, but not all the teams they're going to be playing are going to be in the playoffs. So I really want to see them in a playoff setting before I can say I'm truly believers. But I think if you want to say they're a playoff team, yeah, the best team in the NFC right now, you can say that right now, but I don't think. a lot of people would pick them to win the NFC. They would probably pick the top three when the season started: the Rams, the Bucks, or the Packers. And I don't see that changing until the Eagles beat one of those teams in the playoffs or beat one of those teams in the regular season. But yeah, the Eagles are outside of those three teams. They would to me be my pick. If those teams got eliminated from the playoffs, that would be my team to make to the Super Bowl. But until I see them actually do it, it's I still they're like one of those. They're a contender, but like I'm not all the way in. Like if I had to out of a scale of 1 to 10, do I think they can do? I'd probably say like a 5. And I'm not saying they're average team, but I'm just saying like I still got to see more. That's all I'm
You
trying to
gotta
say.
see, man.
Yeah,
I mean, think about who they beat. So week 1, who did they play?
they played the
Detroit's
Lions.
good. They're
The
good.
Lions.
Detroit's
They're
good.
bad. They're better, but this is a non-playoff team. Who did they beat next?
The Vikings.
All
Minnesota.
right, the Vikings probably make the playoffs, so that's a legitimate win. Then the Commanders. Y'all think the Commanders are making the playoffs?
No.
No.
But it's still an impressive win, though.
Yeah, I'll give them that. But I think who you beat, who you play, and who you beat matters. These are just the
Oh,
facts. So
oh.
we got to
So
give them credit for winning it. But I mean, it's only two. They've only beaten one playoff team in my opinion. So I'm not gonna jump up and down and be like, "Oh, the Eagles are gonna win the Super Bowl." No, I'm not there yet.
I'm not even gonna lie. Like looking at their schedule, and obviously I didn't even cut you off, DB. I know you're about to go in on
Good.
your thoughts too. But I'm looking at the schedule, and they play. I think Jaguars, Cardinals, Cowboys, Steelers, Texans, Commanders, Colts, Packers, uh, Titans, Giants, Bears, Cowboys, Saints, and Giants. So honestly, DB, I would be surprised if the team won 14 games, 13,
Yeah.
14 games. Like, there's not too many losses in there. Their hardest game will be against the Packers, and I assume, Brian, that's going to be the game that tells a lot for you.
Oh,
Which
Dallas game.
Yeah,
call
with
me
that,
crazy. I think this week's an interesting test.
the
Who they
Jaguars.
got?
Yes.
Oh God,
Oh
the
yeah,
Jaguars.
yeah,
No, the
yeah.
Jaguars are better than people think.
Or
They're,
did they
they're
just play a beat? Or did they just play a beat up Chargers team?
all
That
right.
was missing about 4 or 5 starters on both sides of the ball.
Who did they beat before that? I'm trying to see.
They shut out the Colts.
Yeah, so that's a legitimate win. Who just beat the Chiefs?
Yeah.
So I think they're
I
better
don't know
than
what the
people
coach
think.
is, but
But we'll see. There's it's a little like the teams that we know are going to be there are probably going to be there. But the Jags, like I looked on NFL Live, you said you watched it. Maybe you missed the
I
stat.
did watch it.
Yeah, where they said Trevor Lawrence is like number 1 and number 2 in a lot of important categories within the Jags offense. So the Jags, I think is it Doug Peterson returning to Philadelphia. I think so. So that shit's another interesting dynamic. But I think this is a legitimate test for the Eagles.
yeah. But before the season started, I had Philly as my one of my dark horse teams to get to the Super Bowl, and I just believe in Jalen Hurts. Man, I think he's going to be a really good quarterback. They put the right pieces around him. You know, got him a wide receiver. He has a tight end. Running game could be a little better with Miles Sanders. Defense is really good. People had the questions about the defense before the season started. They've been shedding out teams so far, but I think they're legit, man. And with the schedule that the teams that you mentioned, they can rattle off 7 to 8 wins, man, 7 to 10 wins, and possibly lock up home field advantage. You know, and Philly could be a tough place to play at in the playoffs. So impressed so far by the team, man, and I think Jalen Hurts could be a MVP candidate, man, so far. But that game against Dallas, man, could be something to look at. This Jacksonville game could be a test. See how that offense gets tested. See what Jalen Hurts can do against Jacksonville. What Lawrence can do against the Philly Eagles defense. That'd be an interesting football game. So right now, man, I think they are the best team in the NFC, but it's still early, and teams could get.
Looks like he
Again.
pressed.
Okay, all right, I'm back. All right, moving learn along, man. We talk about next. We're gonna talk about the Miami Dolphins, and they're 3-0. They beat. They came from Miami to beat Baltimore the previous week. This week they beat the Buffalo. Well, this past week they beat the Buffalo Bills, everybody's Super Bowl favorite. And the first week they beat New England, a division rival that they pretty much own since Tua has got to the has been taken by the team, the Dolphins. The Dolphins. So with that being said, do you think the Dolphins are the biggest surprise in the AFC right now? AFC right now with a 3-0 record
Yeah, they're not the biggest surprise. You know who's the biggest surprise?
from Jacksonville.
No,
Uh,
the Las Vegas Raiders.
oh,
But uh, yeah, I really like what I'm seeing from the Dolphins. They made some moves in the offseason to get better, and it's shown right now. The only questionable decision I had from Sunday was whether they should have put Tua back in, but that's, I guess, for the NFL to decide. But yeah, I like the direction the Dolphins are headed, and give credit to Dan Orlovsky. He really, it's still too. I'm not saying he's going to be this good, but he did believe that Mike McDaniel could be the next Andy Reid, and so far so good for the Dolphins. Got to ultimately make the playoffs. That's not a given after the 3-0 start. But if they make the playoffs and maybe win a game, that's a successful season.
you got to live.
Do you think you say about I question. I think the Miami Dolphins are a legitimate playoff team. I think they're done. Oh, they've done a very good job of utilizing what they have. They brought obviously they drafted two a few years back. And they didn't listen to the noise. A lot of the noise was saying they should trade and try to get another quarterback to get in there. They give the Dolphins credit for knowing what they had. Like even people didn't talk. They were talking down about Tua, but Tua's done his job and a good team performance. To even I think he had a concussion and came back and still won. They still won the game. I think he was concussed because his movements after the play he got hit on weren't movements of somebody who wasn't concussed. But I think the Dolphins are a legitimate team. The question is the same I have for the Eagles: can they run the ball? Because they have no dominant run game at all. Like Raheem Mostert, solid back, not that same guy he was with the 49ers. Chase Edmonds, good back, but not a consistent in between the holes, more of a scat back type of guy. Um, they're not. That's what I question is their run game. That's the biggest what if about this team. And, however, I do think that the strengths play obviously on the boundaries. I think two of the probably the best receiver retain them in the league in Hill and Waddle, and I honestly don't think it's a second close second because man, that the playmaking ability, they are never out of a game ever, and that's the most dangerous teams are the ones that are hard to put away. So
Oh,
with Miami, being as good as they've been, obviously their first big test, well, next big test will be Thursday against Cincinnati, and then we'll see what we will. A lot of people probably use that as a game to see what they're made of because the Bengals are actually favored to win this game, but you know we'll see what the Dolphins are, but I think they could go a legitimate like 11-5, 11-6, 12-5 if they keep this toward the price pace up. Because just like the Eagles, what's good about them those two teams that we just talked about, they had easier schedules. They had two of the Dolphins and Eagles had two of the top 10 easiest schedules in the NFL, so that's very much has benefited them because they only their division was in conference was the AFC. I think it was the AFC. They played against the NFC North in the NFC, and I think it's against the. If I'm not mistaken, they played against the AFC South. So they got blessed schedule wise, but they're still really good.
so you saying that Waddle and Cheetah is better than Chase and Higgins?
Yes,
We can
Higgins is
find out on social
Higgins is
media. We gonna ask on
inconsistent.
social media.
Higgins is too inconsistent for me. Like
You
Higgins
think
will
so?
be have a game. Higgins will have a game where he's there. Like I see 60, I see 70, 80 yards out of him. But then they have a game where I see 30 plus yards, like just 30, 35 yards, and you're really not making an impact. Waddle and Tyreek make impacts every game. Like you're not going to see this. Jalen Waddle's, you're going to know he's on the field every play. Sometimes T takes plays off.
I can give you that. Um, but he was on it last week though against the Jets.
Yeah, that was a lot of Tyler Boyd too, though.
Yeah, but Miami was another team on my list of those dark horse teams that could possibly make the Super Bowl, man. Just like with the Eagles, they took care of Tua, man. They block out all this outside noise. Then one Tom Brady and then one Deshaun Watson. Got the head coach. Um, got Teron Armstead, all pro left tackle from the Saints. You already had Jalen Waddle, so you went out there, got made the move for Tyreek Hill, Gesicki, the tight end. Running game, yeah, their running game could be a little suspect, with Chase Edmonds, and they still have Miles Gaskin, right? The other running back. Defense, they got a really good defense. Got a pretty much a lockdown corner in Xavier Howard. A good defensive line, but so far I like what I see out of the Miami Dolphins. I think they're a playoff team. I don't know if they could overstep Buffalo, but I think they're a playoff team.
Hey, Leah. Wait, you can hear me? Wait, take. I want to talk to you.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, I was just making sure. I just wanted you to respond. I think you got your old Wi-Fi. That's why it's having all these
Yeah, I
problems.
think I think my
Yeah, I don't know, but it's all right.
I hope
I
everything
just
goes
hope we
well.
don't have to start all over. He'll have to edit this. We gotta. I don't want to start all over. And I may come to Memphis for the Temple game.
That's good. That's
Yeah,
good. Yeah, he
and then
left him. He'll be back.
yeah, and then hopefully, if everything goes well, I don't know. I don't know if I got. I'll have to come back to work. Uh, Probably. So I may not go to the Tulsa game, but I'll definitely watch it. And I don't know. I'm still decided whether I should watch the Houston game because I'm gonna pause my YouTube TV while I'm gone, and I'm leaving the day of the Houston game, but I'm leaving like the Houston game will probably be over by the time my flight takes off. So I may try to watch that.
So what's the flight like? Okay, you went to ever like what's the where's like what's the route?
All right, so flying sometimes doesn't make sense. Like what you think would make sense doesn't. But I think I'm
Yeah,
going Memphis to Atlanta, then Atlanta to New York. I don't know why I can't just go Memphis to New York, but that's how flying is. And then from New York, JFK to Accra.
to who?
I'm, yeah, yeah, go ahead.
No, what were you saying?
Go ahead.
No, I was listening to you. I didn't hear what you
Oh,
said.
wait, the part before
Yeah,
you
you said
wanted
New York. You said New York. Then to where?
to Accra, Ghana.
Ah,
That's the capital of Ghana.
okay.
Yeah.
How
But
long
I
is
don't
that
know.
flight? How long is that?
It's about maybe 9-10 hours.
A flight?
Yeah. Wait, to which one?
No, like from New York to Ghana.
Yeah, about 9-10 hours.
Hey, man. All right, man. We was talking about the Dolphins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think they're legit, man. I think they're a playoff team. Tua is another sleeper to win the MVP. It's crazy that both Alabama QBs are balling right now, and they're missing one person missing out right now. Mac Jones. Mac Jones got the raw deal right now, man. The dude is getting the raw deal, man. Both Tua and Jalen Hurts got weapons. You know what I'm saying? Mac Jones does not. What y'all think about that, man?
Well, that's fair. But you can say he has the greatest coach of all time.
Man, nah, bro. You
They
can't.
can't
That's
they can't
cliche.
they can't do anything in terms of on field production. But go ahead.
That's
I
so
think that,
cliche, man.
yeah, but no, but I think the biggest mistake they made was not giving him a proper offensive coordinator. That's the big. Obviously, weapons are important, uh, and the coaching, but the coaching to me, because I think you can do. They have all right weapons. Actually, I don't think about it, they have better weapons than you think. Hunter Henry, Johnny Smith. They may not have great Nelson Aguilar. They may not
Nah,
have like
You,
dude,
that
you haven't
dude,
named
number
no,
one.
one.
man,
You
Those are
haven't named their
solid
number one.
players. I don't. They have
dude.
a good running back.
Hold on, dude. You can't compare Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne, right?
Yeah,
To guys like AJ Brown and Devontae Smith,
yeah,
or Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Come on, man.
but
But to
how
be
many
fair,
of those
most teams
guys are in
can't
the
say.
league though? Like
Yeah,
What?
how many? Eight, how many are? Let's
Quite a
say
few of them.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. So the weapons they have, they're not too bad. Again, I think the biggest issue is the who they hired as their OC. That's their biggest issue.
They're not good enough
And
to compete, man.
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
being
I
real.
think they're better. If Mac Jones, it'll be interesting to see how Brian Hoyer will have his hands full of that. I thought they were doing well with Mac Jones. He did that. They lost to the Ravens, but that game was closer than maybe it and ultimately ended up being. But yeah, with Mac Jones being out, I think they're going to miss the playoffs now. If I don't know, Brian Hoyer has had some good moments, but I don't think you can rely on for how long they're going to rely on him to do well. But we'll see.
Good.
if I were the Patriots, I would, I mean, I would try to see what Bailey they had in Bailey in that fourth round pick, Bailey Zapp out of Western Kentucky. I would have just give because Hoyer has a ceiling, and maybe you have something that's a high level, a high end backup in Zapp. So I would have tried to give him the job, but obviously they're gonna probably go with the guy Hoyer that's gonna try to keep quote unquote keep them in playoff until Matt comes back. So, but I'm interested to see what Zapp has because if something would happen to Hoyer, he'd be next up. So I'm interested in that.
So they shouldn't go after Cam Newton.
Oh my
Stop
god,
it, DV. Stop. Stop.
we already saw this.
If Cam Newton plays in the NFL again, I'll be stunned. And it's not him that he's bad. It's just he's declining, and also the Patriots cutting him. So even if they really wanted him, I don't know. Cam got an ego. Now I think if they offered him an opportunity to come back, he would take it.
Of course he
But
take it.
I don't see that happen. I'll be stunned if Cam ever plays the NFL again. I hope I'm wrong, but I believe it. Unless if he's willing to, and I believe he's willing to be a backup. Like I wanted the Titans to have him instead of Malik Willis or Logan Woodside, but they didn't make that move. So we'll see what it is.
You got anything to say, Leo?
No, I'm just no. I haven't.
Yeah, man. Cam just look kind of like comfortable in that podcast life. So it is what it is, man. All right, so we're talking about some college football now, man. And the more in particular, we're gonna talk about the Clemson Tigers and just looking at how they've performed so far. They're not looking like Clemson that we have known to see over the years, and they had a really close game this past week against Wake Forest, in which they won by a score of, let me see, 51 to 45. I think both of us picked picked that to be a close game. Previous game against Louisiana Tech, they won pretty good. They run 48-20. Furman did 35-12. The first game against Georgia Tech, they didn't look impressive at all, but they eventually pulled away by a score of 41-10. And they got another tough game this week they're at home this time against 10th ranked NC State. And their next game after NC State is Boston College. You got to go to Tallahassee to play Florida State. Then you play a unbeaten Syracuse team, right? Syracuse team on October 22nd. Notre Dame at South Bend. Louisville. That's an interesting team. Louisville at home. Then you got Miami at home, and then South Carolina at home. So with the remaining schedule for Clemson, do you see them making it to the ACC championship game and possibly the CFP?
I'll take this one first. I kind of disagree with you. Like
What I
from the
what I said.
standpoint, like Clemson's struggling. Like the one thing I'll say is it's hard to win in college football. Like I feel like sometimes not you, but a lot of people we take that for granted, especially the programs that have been winning a lot. And so even though I picked Wake last week when we did our picks, and I was kind of disappointed they lost because I felt like they had a great chance to win. Wake's a good football team. Like give Dave Clawson's a good coach, so I'm not surprised that game was close, and I won't be surprised if they lose a game or two before that. I believe they'll make to the ACC title game, but I don't think Clemson. They may not be what we once knew them to be, but think about all the staff changes they've undergone. They lost two coordinators this offseason. Rarely do you see that happen at a program unlike not named Alabama, uh, and them having the success they're having. But Dabo's built a great culture that he's able to withstand some losses. So I think the one question ultimately I'll have, and this will determine whether Clemson can reach their ceiling or not, is DJ Uiagalelei. Can he get can he play well enough, particularly in the passing game, when the run game isn't going? Because teams know if you really want to stop Clemson's offense, take away the run and force DJ Uiagalelei to beat you. And the question is, can he do it? Some games he showed he can. Well, some games he's been a better passer than and good enough for them to win. But the games they've lost, that's played a big role in it. So we'll see what he's able to do. But that's the ultimate question. And some people have been calling for Cade Klubnik, the highly touted freshman out of Texas, and he's really good and he's coming soon. But I don't know if he's physically ready for the moment. But we'll see. Like God forbid, but let's say DJ Uiagalelei gets hurt, Cade Klubnik. I'm sorry, I'm struggling with his name. Plays well enough where Dabo has a decision to make, then I'll be interested. But right now, I think they're going to ride with DJ the rest of this year, unless if he plays so poorly where Dabo has no choice. But we'll see.
What you got, Leo?
I think Clemson is just, they're still. I think that Clemson's still a very good program, still a very good team. They're just not winning games the way we used to in terms of the strict dominant defenses and all that. And then also, it's not just really Clemson. There's just the ACC that's gotten better too. Like in a way, like teams like Wake Forest, Pittsburgh, Syracuse, those teams have gotten better, and like Wake Forest, like a few years ago, probably would have gotten blown out, probably blown away by Wisconsin, by not Wisconsin, by Clemson. But they've gotten better. Dave Clawson, other teams just gotten better, and Clemson's finding different ways to win. And I think when people have, we're used to seeing Clemson dominate the offense and defensively, and they still got it offensively. Trust me, they showed against. I mean, even though Wake's horrible on defense, woefully horrible. Um, Clemson showed that they trust me. They still have it offensively and defensively. In today's era, it's hard. In college football, it's hard not to give up a lot of points. It's hard because with the way the pace and flow, and y'all know this stuff. But I still think Clemson's the class of the ACC. I thought Miami was the second best team until MTSU showed me different. Um, I thought now I guess shoot I guess Wake Forest, like Brian said, is the class now. Syracuse has something to say about being up there in terms of like being a. I was making an argument. Florida State. I mean, in terms of their conference, Clemson's gonna have to, they're gonna have to play Florida State. They're gonna have to play. Um, I think they play Syracuse. So they're
Yeah,
gonna have,
I did.
yeah, yeah. So they're gonna have a lot. They're gonna have a lot to, to prove. But I mean, I still think it's Clemson and then everybody else in the ACC. But I think the ACC is definitely like other teams are definitely catching up with them. But Clemson still is elite.
Yeah, I agree. I still believe that they're a really good football team. They're winning in ways that we're not accustomed to seeing them win. We used to seeing them just like you said, just dominate teams on both sides of the football, not giving up a lot of points, just overmatching other teams, just purely on talent. But And that's not been the case this past 2 years. They had the struggles up last year. They won 10 games last year, but to our standards, a lot of people's standards, that's not Clemson. That's not where Clemson should be. They should be like a CFP team every year. But sometimes you got to take that step back and retool the program. But on the schedule, man, I'm looking at it. I do see I do see a highly competitive game. I mean, the NC State game. I mean, it's gonna have to present its problems, but it is at home. But October 15th at Tallahassee, man, is could be could determine something. You know what I'm saying? If Norvell, if the nose stay remain undefeated, hopefully they could be remain both teams could be undefeated by the time they meet up. That could be a really huge ACC matchup. And we haven't had a lot of huge ACC matchups, especially down in Tallahassee in a long time. And that game, I'm not trying to be prisoner of the moment. That game could probably shift the balance of power in that conference. Especially with Mike Norvell. And we've been everybody. A lot of he still has a lot of people rooting for him down in Memphis. If he could get that going, man, that could be an interesting game, a conference shifting game. But we'll see. But that game against Louisville, man, they play against this I call him Lamar Light against Louisville. That could be another interesting game in November. But I still believe they can win the conference, man. They drop a game against somebody like a Florida State. Um, it hurts their chances of getting to the CFP, but it all depends on what happens with other teams in the other conferences. So we'll see. But I think they're still the team to be in the ACC, man. I picked them to be a CFP contender. So we'll see. All right, moving right along. Last topic of the night, we're gonna talk about this Deion Sanders leaving Jackson State rumor that's been circulating for the past, I would say, 48 hours. And I got an article pulled up from Sports Illustrated, and it was mostly talking about Joel Klatt from Fox Sports FS1 saying that he thinks he knows where Deion Sanders will coach next. And I'm gonna just go ahead and read a little quick excerpt from it, written by let's see, Zach Coons. Hmm. Deion Sanders has quickly become one of the most sought after coaches in college football as programs have already begun to move on from current program leaders in 2022. Jackson State head the Jackson State coach has established himself as a strong recruit at the HBCU school, and has a 19-5 record on the field, resulting in his name being brought up in conjunction with some of the most high-profile jobs in the sport. Let me scroll down. For Fox Sports analyst Joel Klatt, Coach Prime's logical next stop in the coaching profession is at Auburn. Quote, when I look at Auburn, the only way to get where they expect to be is to win some recruiting battles. And think of some of the coaches they have got compete they've got to compete with to win some of those recruiting battles. It's going to be very it's going to wow, it's going to be very difficult, Class said on the next round Monday on Class said on the next round Monday podcast. To me, that's the first and foremost criteria for your next coach at Auburn. Can you go into any living room in America and win recruiting battles? And to me, that's Deion Sanders. So that's why I think Deion's going to be the next coach at Auburn. End quote. All right, so just want y'all to share your thoughts on what Class said, and we're gonna just, you know, do a little roundtable on this.
I'll take it first. Uh, yeah, I think if there's one of these jobs that are open, uh, I think Auburn is a possibility. So I hope that if he gets an opportunity at a place like Auburn, you take it. His staff will be important. Uh, but I personally would like to see him stay at Jackson State, see if he can build that program ultimately up to where they can become an FBS program and take it from there. But if you get opportunity at Auburn, uh, Nebraska, those are like Arizona State, Georgia Tech, I would stay away from that job, even though it's in the South and um, it's in Atlanta. It's a challenging job. If I was Georgia Tech, the number one person I'll call for that job is Jamie Chadwell. Someone made a very interesting point I didn't really think about. The offense he runs at Coastal is kind of like the similar offense. Well, not similar. It's the passing version of the option offense. I know that's kind of hard to understand, but that's what a lot of people are describing it. So basically, to sum up what I'm trying to say, Deion Sanders should only take a job where it's a big time job. If it's like not that big of a jump from, and when I say not that big of a jump, of course, if you go to Power Five school, it's a bigger job than Jackson State. But make sure you're not going to a job where you already have a disadvantage. You see what I'm saying?
Go ahead, Lil. Go ahead, Lil.
I know I can't hardly explain.
Um, I think Auburn would be a solid job. I was doing some research. There's a lot of connections. Georgia Tech would have its issues. Georgia Tech's not getting the best players because, and I hate to say this, but a lot of the best players aren't always, academic, like qualified. Like at Georgia Tech, you can't just be a great athlete. You have to be an elite student. Like you're not getting into that school without, your grades being higher. So that's gonna take away a lot of, solid players. Not saying a lot of, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get what you said.
Academics is gonna be, um, like you also Georgia Tech, they don't have the Deion Sanders is something I was doing research. He's not obviously y'all know he's not playing for first place or second place. They you go to Georgia Tech, you expect him to be he wants to be the best team in the ACC, and that's the goal. And that's not going to be realistic because the facilities and the resources aren't there for them to fully invest into it. I mean, it would be, Atlanta, yeah, he'd be returning to his old stomping grounds in Atlanta, a lot of connections. And so, but I don't think that's the fit. But I do think Auburn is intriguing for two reasons. Number one, Deion Sanders and Under Armour affiliated. That would be huge when it comes like, those camps that they be having, like the Under Armour, like All American Games, stuff like that. The huge affiliations there, that's a big thing. Another thing too that I really like is that Auburn's going to give him the resources, the NIL, to compete. They're gonna make everything available to him, and I think, in my opinion, they they would, open that checkbook. And Auburn by himself, if Deion Sanders goes there, I think that automatically would sway, obviously he's gonna have to go do the recruiting like he's been doing, but that sways a lot of a couple of, big time recruits are gonna head that way because they've seen what he's built at Jackson State. And another thing too, that CFP expanding from 4 teams to 12 teams. Deion Sanders goes to Auburn. Auburn's going to be in that hunt for that to be in that top 12. So that's also another thought that that could be going through his head. I go to Auburn. I play in the SEC. If I go win 10, 11 games, if I win 10 games in a season, I'm in the hunt for a top 12 spot. You know what I'm saying? So I think those options are playing well in his head, and Auburn. I mean, people act like Auburn hasn't fired. They haven't fired. They still have a head coach. I mean, we're talking about this job like they don't have a head coach, but apparently, from what the word is he not going to be the head coach next year?
If they continue to struggle, if they have more bad games, when he won't be.
Yeah, Harson. You talking about Harson, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brian Harsin.
He's a dead man walking, in my opinion. It's only a matter of time. Like if they had lost this game this past week, he would have been gone. It's only a matter of time. I'll be stunned if he's back next season. But I could see him getting a job either back at his alma mater at Boise State or a job on the West Coast. The only thing I'll say, and I listen to Josh Pate, y'all know who he is. He made a good point about Auburn, why it's kind of a tricky job. just in your division, you're the fourth or fifth best job. Alabama's better, LSU's better, Texas A&M is better. I'm trying to think if there's another one off the top of my head.
Ole Miss is better.
No, I think Lane Kiffin is a better coach. Ole Miss isn't. You could you Auburn's a better job at than Ole
LSU.
Miss. Arkansas, that's a tough one. I think they're kind of equal in a way. Um, what's the
State.
other job?
State.
Is
Mississippi State.
Yeah, so
State.
I guess it's ahead of those schools, but think about it just there, and so that's why like some people thought Billy Napier would be a good candidate for Auburn, and he would, but he wouldn't take that job because he's a very calculated individual, and if you go to Auburn already, you're behind some of those schools in resources and booster money, so you just wouldn't. That's why Auburn. I think it could work, but his staff would be very, very important, um, especially his offensive coordinator, because it's the way you win. You got to have a good quarterback, dynamic quarterback, and you got to be able to score points. Defense, I think you can figure it out, but you have to have the right staff. And another thing, some people have mentioned it. How would it work with his son? Because as good as his son is, that's a big jump from Jackson State to Auburn. And at at Auburn, you got to play the best guy. You can't just play your son because he's your son. He could end up being the best guy, but people will notice if he's not, and that'll be a tough decision to have to make. You know what I mean? So it's stuff like
Right.
that. A lot of people aren't really talking about that. You
But
have to think about when you make a jump that big. That's why he may consider going. Because if you go to Georgia Tech, his son will definitely probably be the best quarterback there. But if you go to Auburn, the players they recruit, that's not necessarily the case.
he better than TJ Finley, bro. And that's from seeing him in person. He better than TJ Finley.
That may be fair, but we haven't seen. Yeah, I guess that's fair. But the
Yeah, TJ
quarterback,
like a 5-star recruit, man.
yeah, he's good. Yeah, he was probably high
Who?
rated higher.
Who is a
TJ
five
Honestly,
star
Finley was
recruit?
a 5-star recruit, man.
yeah,
Who?
TJ Finley, he was at
yeah,
LSU.
yeah, he
What?
was a big time recruit.
He was a big time recruit,
I
I
can't.
don't know if he was I don't know
Yeah.
what he could have been on
What did
some.
he
I
do
thought
to
it was
become
probably a
that?
4 star.
What
bruh.
did he do to? What did he do to become that? Because I haven't seen
Dude,
anything
oh look,
at Auburn that makes me
man,
thought.
He
Google it.
was pretty good at LSU.
Pretty
I mean,
good.
in high school in Louisiana.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
man. It'd be like Jaden, he's like Jaden Hardaway.
Well,
Just
I'm not.
Nah,
trust.
that's
I'm
different.
not sure if that's the greatest
Jay was
comparison,
a
but
2 star
I
I'm
coming
see
just
in.
your
saying,
point.
this is, the coincidence.
I see your
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
But I think I hope he can stay at Jackson State and just finish the job there and continue to lift up HBCUs. I wish he could like make HBCUs to where their championship is just as important as a CFP championship, you know. But if he does leave, I think the best job, man, for him, man, would be Auburn, man. I think it would be Auburn. You say that it's, I mean, Atlanta ain't that far away from Auburn, so I think it would be great for recruiting. I think he could get that program back to where it usually it wants to be. It could be a more consistent program, in my opinion, because with Auburn, there'll be a CFP contender one year, then the following year they'll regress, and then next year is they contended, and it's next year they fall off. So I think it'd be great, man. Then that way you can see him playing against Saban if he's still around.
Yeah.
Him going against Nick Saban, him coaching against Brian Kelly, a Mike Leach, or Lane Kiffin, all those different types. You have all those coaching styles in one division
Yep.
against Sam Pittman. I think it would be pretty good, man. Pretty cool to see that kind of see something like that. But I think it could work, man. I think it could work if you hire Deion Sanders to coach at Auburn. I don't see him fitting well at somewhere like Nebraska. What's the other job that's gonna come open?
There's Arizona State,
Arizona.
Colorado.
I don't
Yeah.
see him going to
But I
Colorado.
think the one thing I'll say that's a tough job, but the Pac-12 is changing a little bit. They would probably give him more time, and he could maybe recruit better than people think because Colorado is kind of closer to Texas and also California. But the one thing he'll have to do that's very, very important. He'll have to be calculated with which job he takes. But your staff, I'm telling you, your staff, especially for someone, because as good as a coach as Dion is, he's more of a CEO type of coach. We can all agree on that. He's not a great offensive coordinator, offensive mind, or a great defensive mind, or at least he hasn't proven that. So I think
That's what you have to be in college football, though.
no, you don't have not
Yes,
necessarily. I
you
don't
do.
think you.
Yeah,
You
you
think
do.
you?
You have to be a
I don't know.
CEO type of college football
But,
to win.
well, the most coaches are the successful ones, but
Not ain't Orgeron, though.
I don't. He won a national title, so you got to give him
Look
credit
what he
there.
had. Look what he
Yeah,
had, man.
but yeah, I guess maybe you could say Joe Brady and Dave Aranda deserve more credit. But yeah, I think it can work for Dion, but his staff will have to be critical, and he'll have to make some tough decisions, especially the decision with his son. If I was his son, I'd probably stay at Jackson State, then transfer to Auburn. But
Nah,
if he not saying he's not good enough. Maybe he can prove that he can be good enough, but he'll have to make the tough decisions. He can't just play your son because he's your son. I don't think he would do that, but those are the type of decisions you have to make at a school like Auburn. And as they may give him a little bit more time than Brian Harsin, but at the end of the day, it's a results business. You don't get the job done, you won't get fired. Like at Jackson State, they'll almost never fire him. He would have to have it would be like an investigation where he did something wrong. Then I think
man, but
then they'll fire him.
why
But
are you putting limitations on him, though?
what do you
Like,
mean? I'm
like
just
you said, well, Georgia Tech coaching at Georgia Tech would be hard for him.
it would be. Do you know how
How do
hard
you know, though?
a job Georgia Tech is?
Dude,
It's one
don't
of
put
the
nothing past
hardest.
Dion, man.
It's one of the hardest jobs
They
in
can
the.
make it work. People have made it work, man.
Yes, but think about how they made it work. Paul Johnson was running a triple option because he knows that they're not going to get some of the big time recruits. Now Dion can maybe change that,
Dude,
but
Georgia Tech had some good talent come out of that program, man.
yeah, they've had.
Back in
But
the day,
it's harder. So do you think if
Kevin
you were
Johnson came out of
Dion,
Georgia Tech, man.
if you were Dion, you would choose Georgia Tech over Auburn?
It depends, man. Dude, Georgia Tech has money, dude. They got resources.
We'll
They
see.
got resources, man.
I hope he can prove me wrong, but like I said,
The
Jamie
NFL
Sandwell.
talent has come out of that program.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but
know. It's Calvin Johnson. It's kind of ironic. They were known for their running off, but they had
Demarius
Calvin.
Thomas.
Yeah, Demarius Thomas
They had
too.
dude, back in the day, Georgia Tech had a really good program, man.
Yeah, I think
yeah,
they won a national title too.
Yeah, I mean, so resource you can recruit at Georgia Tech, man.
But I'm
You're
telling
in the state of Georgia. You in the state of Georgia, man.
you already at a
You can
disadvantage.
find them recruits, man.
yeah, but the problem with the tech schools also they also don't have a lot of degrees like a Auburn will because they're
See,
tech
man,
school.
there you go again, man. You
These
put
are just
limits on the dudes, man.
I'm not, but I'm a realist. So
You are.
you think I'm a realist? You know me too well. I'm a realist. I'm gonna
You
tell
think
you,
you can't do it though,
yeah, because it's a hard job.
man? Don't put. Come on, man.
I think he could do it better at Auburn than at Georgia Tech
I
because
do
at least
too,
at
but I
Auburn.
think he could do just as good at just as well at Georgia Tech too.
All right,
What you
so
got,
what do
Lil?
you think the expectations at Georgia Tech would be for him?
Bowl games,
Bowl games, win the ACC.
literally.
All right, and you think he could do that? I would give him a pass his first year. After that, you can think he can make a bowl game every single year at Georgia
Yeah,
Tech. All
yeah.
right, maybe that's just your opinion. Auburn eventually you'll have to compete for a national title, and I think he could do that. And there's more pressure to win at Auburn. But the thing is, even if it doesn't work out at Auburn, you're going to get a huge buyout. So I'd rather also go to Auburn for that reason too, because I like
You don't want
money.
to go
He
in.
likes
You don't want to
money.
go in. You don't want to go in with the opportunity thinking of that. And also another thing, DB, that does go in your favor. I'm looking at the teams that's in the coastal ACC coastal.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech, Duke, North Carolina, Pitt, Miami, Virginia. Not too many great teams. They're in
Yeah.
a weaker side. So if he got the right recruits, they could be on the rise quickly, especially competing for the coastal. They could be competing for a coastal championship in a couple of years with him, as a coach.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So I mean, he can do it.
He could, but I would stay away from that job. I'd rather take Arizona State, Nebraska. I'd rather probably take every job out there. Maybe Colorado could be the exception, but I'd probably rather take that over Georgia Tech, in my opinion. Georgia Tech's a difficult job, man. I'm telling you. It really, really is.
When is Northwestern going to get rid of Pat Fitzgerald? Because they've just averaged every year, and like I like Pat a
Well,
lot, but my
I
goodness,
don't
I'm
think they'll
tired of
fire.
watching.
They may
Some
ask
people
him
think he an
again.
NFL coach, man.
Yeah, they won't fire
What?
him. But
Yeah,
North,
I heard
North,
think he's an NFL coach.
They say he's a
I
broke
do.
man's version of David Shaw.
I think he's a good coach. But think about like, all right, Northwestern's a perfect example. It's basically the Georgia Tech of the Big Ten. Same thing with Stanford. Why are they struggling? Well, Stanford is in its own lane because one, they don't have early enrollment, and that's huge with this new early signing day. And two, that it's the only school where you have to be admitted in before they can give you a scholarship. So they have the highest standards in the nation academically. So, but the challenges you have at those schools, I'm telling you, I would stay away from it if I was him because it's a really really difficult challenge. I'd rather build up Jackson State than go to Georgia Tech. That would be
All
me.
right,
That would be
all
me.
right.
But uh, yeah.
So let me ask y'all, where is the rumor? Where is this rumor coming from about Jackson State trying to be a FBS school?
Well, I thought I saw something. I went back and I guess it didn't happen. I think they were rumored about them joining the Sun Belt, and it just didn't happen. But they
No, you talking about Jacksonville State?
oh
Yeah.
Jacksonville State.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's who was trying to join the sale, but
Jacksonville State.
Oh,
mm,
I thought it was Jackson State. I guess I was wrong. I thought I
So
accepted it, but it's fine.
I want to ask y'all this too. So if he does leave Jackson State, do you think the HBCU schools can continue the momentum that they have right now with the
no.
investments and the different platforms to watch the games and stuff like that?
Well, actually, yes and no. In terms of like the hype Dion has brought for Jackson State, probably not. But I still think that they could still build some stuff. They'll have to hire the right people, and maybe guys like I don't know if you take it, but guys like Brian Flores, if he's really committed, you need the one thing about the situation that HBCU's in, you need someone that's really really committed to build it up, and so that's Deion Sanders was perfect for it, but if you don't have the right commitment, it's going to be hard to build it up. But that's the challenge. I don't think because Dion's brought so much hype, and it would be hard to replace them. But I still think they can be effective programs if they hire the right people. It's all about hiring the right people and people that have patience or willing to build. Because building an HVCU up to maybe where you want it to be, that's probably one of the hardest jobs to ever to do.
What you got, Leo?
Three things. First of all, the reason why I say no. First of all, lack of a rival. There's no what other HBCU do we talk about like JSU like that in terms of on field success. South Carolina State was a team that won the SWAC last year, and we don't even know who their coach is. And I think that would hurt if you were to go make a transition to who's going to be that team that steps up. Number two, like you said, you just addressed it, Brian. Lots of coaches use those type of jobs, HBU jobs, C jobs, is launching pads. Deion Sanders has never done that. He's never used. I don't think he's used Jackson State as a launching pad for another job, or he would have already taken it. Because I'm pretty sure he's gotten FBS offers, in
Well,
my opinion.
no, I don't think he
You don't
has.
you
I
don't think
think
he's had you don't think
he's
he's had
been
offers to leave?
interviewed. No, I don't think he's had an offer. I don't.
You don't
He's
think
been
so?
no, I don't. I think if he had an offer, one he would have admitted that he turned it down. We've never heard that yet. I know he was interviewed by TCU, Arkansas. I'm trying to. I feel like there's another one I'm missing, but I don't think he's got an offer. I do not. I think he's got an interview, but he's not got an offer because I feel like if he got an offer, we would have known more about, and he would have because Dion's a very upfront type of guy. He would have said that he turned it down. So no, I don't think he's got an offer.
Okay. So I don't know, man. I just hope he stays at Jackson State, man. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, like if he doesn't go to like a P5 school, it's not the end of the world. It's like it's not like he don't need it. Yeah, he needs to go to that school to continue to coach and be successful. So hopefully he can stay at Jackson State, man.
and I think can I say
Go
one
ahead.
more thing? I
Go ahead.
think Jackson State really, really appreciates him. You know what I mean? They really, really appreciate him. Like at Auburn, not saying they wouldn't appreciate him, but he's just another coach trying to get them where they ultimately want to be. But at Jackson State, he's like, if he keeps on building it, I wouldn't be surprised one day they name something after him, build him a statue. It means something, to them
Yeah.
more than one of these other schools. So I agree. I want him to stay. But
All
if you
right.
get an opportunity like Auburn or one of these big schools, or even a school where you feel like you can, you know, get them where they want to be, it's going to be hard to turn down. But we'll see.
One more thing I want to say, y'all, before you go ahead, DB. I know this is probably a crazy and highly unlikely. I don't like using scenarios that are unrealistic. But do you think if Deion Sanders makes the jump from FCS to FBS, that he would go to a non-power five school like Memphis, hypothetically?
I just knew you was going.
No, like in all
You're
seriousness,
ready to
it's like a
clown
legit.
Memphis already.
No, is it? What you say?
You're ready to clown Memphis, man. With that, hey, you didn't tell me. You didn't tell me what the whole drifter went down at the
Yeah,
classic.
yeah. We forgot. We got to hear that.
We didn't tell me that they asked Shadar Sanders about the traditions of the rivalry between Tennessee State and Jackson State, and Dion just went in and just cut him off in the middle of the
Yeah.
interview and said, "We don't care." You didn't tell me that.
Yeah, yeah, because he was like, he was saying that there's no rivalry. He said like he asked his players like, is that a rivalry? Like we just got here, and like yeah, he basically just dissed the whole thing. Like this, we look at them as rivals. We look at them as this is a historic. It may be a historic event, but they don't really look at it like that. And he really just trashed him. And he really, he really was just pushing the narrative for it to be in Jackson. Like yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
so yeah, and he don't really. I could tell, Memphis ain't his, he the
yeah,
one
that
they
ain't
the one
fact.
decided he the one decided they don't want to come back. So I mean, shoot, if Memphis, I guess you're right. If Memphis was that appealing, he wouldn't be so adamant about not coming back.
But yeah, but he would be the right thing, the right choice for the right guy from Memphis if they did
Yeah.
without the attitude, because I think he could get a lot of things moving in regards to getting the fan base engaged into the to football, man. Because I was out there this past week, man. I'm just like, wow, man, and empty crowd, 60,000 seat stadium. But you won't be a P5 school. I go to these social media Facebook groups, and the complaints is that it was too hot, and they got this going on. They got this. I'm like, dude, places like freaking uh Athens, Georgia. They have games at 11 till 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Who else? Michigan. They play in Hernstown C Stadium with the sun bearing down on them. Do they complain?
Take it for granted.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but also they play. You name towns, they really ain't nothing else to do. Memphis, it
Yeah,
ain't really that much to do, but I can find something else to do besides go to a Tiger game in Memphis. It didn't make sense. And also, I think with Dion, if Dion came to Memphis, that could almost secure them a Power Five spot.
yeah, it would.
I don't know about that. I disagree with that.
Yeah, it
I
would, man.
disagree.
Dude,
It would.
I
you
hope
know,
I'm wrong. I would love that to see it, but yeah, I agree. I think he would definitely bring a lot of hype. Imagine Deion Sanders and
and
Penny
Penny
Hardaway as their
Yeah.
that would be
and your
awesome.
boy, what his name is? Bronny. Dion, Bronny, Ash, the son, Penny's son,
Yeah,
and
love
Penny.
it.
Man,
And
they'll
then
put the city over
Deion,
the top,
And
man.
and it would mean Memphis would have a black head coach in football, basketball, and baseball.
yeah, and a black quarterback too.
Oh, we just assume
Mhm.
his sons is gonna be the starter everywhere he goes.
No. I believe they'll eventually get a black quarterback down. Maybe it's his son or not. But Tevin, I think you'd give Tevin an opportunity. And Tevin, I think will get opportunity. I don't know how long he's willing to wait though. Um, but yeah,
But
Dion to Memphis would be nice. But another question I thought, what about Dion to the NFL? You think that'll happen, or would he want to do it?
No,
nah, you don't want that
no,
headache. You
he
don't
don't.
want
NFL is a beast.
you not that
I think
headache
They're
right
I think
now.
he's
fired
a
up
better.
here.
I think he's a better teacher. Like I think
Yeah,
he's a good teacher of young men. I don't think he really deal with. I don't think D. Okay, when you get to the NFL, Dion has a big ego. Like big ego. We all know that. you gonna get to the ego with NFL players that are just as big as the ego as you. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
you know how it is.
Like he could coach in college because people guys have the all of hey I'm being coached by Deion Sanders, the former All Pro cornerback. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna have this
Yeah.
all of him. In the NFL, they're not gonna have that all of you. Like you're just a coach now. Like you know what I'm saying? You're somebody from the past. So like they're not gonna have that all of him and their respect of him. You know what I'm saying? And they're already set in their ways of doing stuff. Whereas obviously in college, that's where you mold guys, young men into grown men. So I think he enjoys doing that process.
Yeah. Yeah, and then another thing, regards to like the crowd stuff. A lot of schools that are like located within like medium to large cities have this issue. Like Miami Hurricanes. Ever since they turned on the Orange Bowl, they don't bring a lot of big crowds at that stadium here at a Hard Rock Stadium. UCLA, their stadium, the Rose Bowl is almost empty. The LA Coliseum is not a full house at certain games. So I can see that issue right there. But speaking of Memphis, I did a little scouting report on their opponent this week, Temple, and the game might be a little closer than what we think because Temple got the 18 ranked defense, man,
Yeah.
and the games they lost were real close. Outside of they got blown out by Duke, and they lost to Rutgers by like 2 points. They shut out UMass this past week, and Memphis lost like three guys on the offensive line, if I'm not mistaken, in that game against North Texas. So I can only imagine if North Texas could cause trouble, I can only imagine what Temple might be able to do.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can go. I'm waiting for some final details, but I'm hoping I can go. But yeah, Kurt Warner's son, I think, is the quarterback
Yeah,
still. So it's going to be an interesting game, first conference game. Memphis obviously wants to beat them. I think we've lost the past two meetings to them. The one, I think maybe the one's on the road. Uh, and everyone's always thinking about that Joey Magnifico catch or
he
not
did call it.
catch. Yeah.
He
But
called it.
yeah, I think, yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. I think it'll be closer than people think. No doubt about it.
What you got, Leo?
Yeah, like you said, DB. I think, like you said, with the Temple situation, like Temple's always been a trap game for them. Like always, it's like it's been a game that they always found a way to lose. Like Temple, I don't know what it is about Temple, but I but going back to what you were saying, DB, about the small, big crowds, like this, like you in Miami,
Hmm.
it's hell of stuff to do out there. Like, the Hurricanes ain't the main attraction. Like Memphis Tigers, like it's way more things. People, I'm not saying nothing
Yeah,
wrong with people who cover football. Like Memphis is not football is not the attraction. It's not. Now we're getting prime. I think every game will get sold out. Not every game, but they getting at least 45 to 50,000 fans every week if Prime was their head coach. Like
yeah,
every week, like just to see, like people just want to see him, like just want to be there. Like they're not. It's like we another thing about these like big successful programs like Alabama's, the Georgia's, like you said, Michigan's, the who else, Oklahoma's. They all in places where it ain't bleep else to do but watch
yeah,
them. That's a
yeah,
big thing.
yeah. And Tulane is like this as well. Um, Before Tulane built their on-campus stadium, they'll play in a Superdome. And the Superdome used to be empty, man, just like the Liberty Bowl, because nobody not going to no football game on a Saturday in New Orleans, man, to watch Tulane play, especially if you're not good. And I heard that they have issues selling that Yeoman out. They're on campus stadium out. They don't even go to that. So it's just what it is with colleges and cities. So we'll see. All right, man. That's all we have for y'all for right now, man. Give us a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Let us know how you feel about the topics we talked about tonight. Also, if you listen to us through Apple or Spotify, give us a 5-star rating, leave your reviews or any topics we talked about tonight. Also, check out StrikeSoundSports.com for latest content on NFL, the NBA, and much more. We'll be talking about NBA content real soon, so be on the lookout. Have a blessed night. Peace. We out.